iRacing overhauled one of their most popular oval cars, the NASCAR truck, with aero and chassis updates. So today I tested the truck on all different types of tracks, including on long runs and dirty air, to tell you guys how to go fast in these trucks. I want to give a shout out to Liam Brotherton. You might have seen him on a couple videos on this channel already. Testing with him, figuring out some of this stuff, he was super helpful. I appreciate it a lot. I'll get into the nitty gritty of it, especially at the end when I do a long run with aero blocking and all that with Liam. But the nitty gritty is that this car has less downforce, so it has a higher top end speed and it less grip on corner entry and corner exit. But to make up for some of it, there is more side force on the car, meaning that once you're in the corner, the car corners pretty well. How the setups work right now is that the 1.5 miles you cannot full throttle anymore, except for maybe on the qualifying runs for some tracks, and there's going to be a lot more skill and less pack racing involved. But maybe there will be packs because the draft is still as strong as ever. On short tracks, these cars are loose. Like, there is no rear or front grip at all at some of these tracks, and I tested out at Iowa, which we'll check out right now. Okay, so we are here at my most comfortable track in the truck, Iowa. If there's a track that I can just load up and know how it drives immediately, it's going to be this track. So I'm interested to see how the truck performs here and what's a different feeling from what I usually have here. So I'm going to be running mostly the bottom here, even though the top might be the best in the truck. We actually don't know. Whoa, okay. So that was a lot less grip than I expected there to be, you could probably tell. Okay, so that rear grip is a lot less. Wow. Oh, that's a lot tighter than I think it should be too, compared to the last update. So this is a challenge. This is a little more extreme than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. Like, it still feels like I'm driving the truck, don't get me wrong, but the handling has honestly completely changed. I used to be able to just send it into the corner here, get it to the bottom pretty easily, and then just straight line full throttle early off, and it's like super. I can put a side-by-side here. I get in the throttle like really hard on the old update, and the car would be fine. It'd be on rails. Here I have to be actually really easy getting back onto the throttle because the car is pretty loose out. Like, it'll want to snap if you keep too much wheel into it. Okay. So I straightened out my exit there. It still gets a little bit light, but it seems like I can't be making up a lot of rotation on exit or else I'm going to snap loose. So here I might actually be having to do that. No, I was able to straighten out pretty well. But the other thing too is I'm not diving into the corner as much as I usually was. As you can probably see if I put up a side-by-side here, it really feels like I just have both less front grip and less rear grip as I go along. Oh yeah, so it's wearing the rear more than the front. It's actually same temperatures in the middle and on pretty much overall, and you don't see that a lot, especially in Iowa, unless the setup is loose. So, wow. Interesting first impressions. Now let's move on to more bread and butter track, the 1.5 miles at Vegas. Alright, we're here at Vegas, and Vegas is like the quintessential 1.5 miles where you should be able to full throttle in the trucks at any track temp pretty much, at least for the first few laps. In some races, you could full throttle in the draft for up to like 10, 12 laps before you even had to breathe the throttle a little bit. So we'll put that to the test here. Let's go full throttle and just see if it sticks. So 1 and 2, pretty simple. It's sliding. I can feel a little bit of slide in the rears under me. Not much, but it's definitely not quite as grounded. And now this is the real test, 3 and 4. Ooh. Oh yeah. See how I'm coming off the white line early? I don't want to be doing that. Back in the old truck, I would be sticking to that white line. It's easily full throttleable, don't get me wrong, but it's not as much grip as it used to be. So I'm interested to see how this would race with other trucks on the track, and luckily this is going to be one of the tracks later this week that we can try it out with. I signed up for the first race here in Nashville in the truck, but first I want to show you guys just a really good comparison on how this car drives compared to how the car drove last season. So the all-time best lap relative I have on here is actually not one I just did. It's from the last time I was here in C-Fixed. And what we'll see is pretty much exactly the differences in the chassis and the aero. So as we get up to speed here, we'll see that the top speed of this car on this setup at least is higher than it was on the old setup or the old truck update. So we'll see that the kind of starts creeping into the green, but then as we get into the corner, we just don't have nearly as much forward grip to stick the corner. And then on exit, we're able to make up a little bit of it, but the right rear slips a little bit, and then you see that we start coming back on it. So there's more acceleration, and then as we get into the corner, we just cannot corner with the amount of grip that we had last season. So taking that knowledge, we'll see how this car races with some other cars around it. So let's go check it out. All right, change of plans. iRacing is broken and the race didn't launch. So instead, I did a 30-lap run to test air with my good friend. You might recognize him from a couple of my videos, Liam here. We were basically just testing out to see how the dirty air reacts with the car. And after a 30-lap run, I ended up 72.82. He was at 78.83. So at these like tighter tracks, the flatter tracks, I think you're going to have more right front wear, and you want to avoid that. With a lot of the concepts that I've talked about before, it's not that much different, but at those shorter tracks, especially where the sets are loose, it might be more of a set thing than a track thing, but the short tracks, you got to really look after the right rear right now. But looking at aero here, I want to show you guys a couple things. So there's this zone here, this zone within, like Liam liked to say, about half a second is where you really feel the dirty air in the corner. We think that the dirty air is pretty significant. See, when he's following me, he's just not quite able. See how he shoots up the track a little bit more than I do here? So even though I didn't quite make the bottom, like this isn't the cleanest corner of all time, because of the air that's on his nose, when we throttle up at the same time, he just shoots up to the wall a lot earlier than I do. And that's basically what's going to happen when you're within half a second of the car in front of you. And we were hoping that I would feel some aero loose if he got close to me, kind of to simulate that aero. But all that would happen is that he would just get super tight into the corner. So you see that, we're turning in at the same time here. He's within a nose of me, and then as we turn in, see how we start to turn at the same time? We're along the same track, and then just being in that wake, I just get to the bottom so much easier than him. And it's just, mostly, I think it's because of this is a flat track, but this is going to be the same pretty much everywhere. The 1.5 miles are going to feel this too, but it's going to feel a little bit more multi-groove probably. But then Liam experimented with some lines where he would start entering offset to my right. So since he was able to keep the air on the nose here, he was able to get a good turn down. And now he's able to kind of utilize the draft and not just the dirty air, because he's got the corner sorted out by the time he gets to the bottom. He's got all the angle that he needs. So the fact that I have dirty air on him at this point doesn't really matter, because he's already got the angle off the corner. And so he's actually able to use that to now draft and get to my inside. But then I'm able to shut the door and look at what happens to the car. I mean, come on. If this isn't dirty air, I don't know what is. Shut the door, immediately straight up the track. So just keep that in mind. Dumping air on somebody's nose when you go onto corner entry is very good. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is completing a pass here. So let's see. I think he passes me probably, yeah. Let's see if this is where he did it, but it's very hard to complete a pass on the bottom on these single groove tracks, even when you have the better car. He probably had a tire advantage on me at this point already, just because he's better than me, you know. Just pro things. But see how he's just offsetting his car, and then he's able to finally gets a run to get to the bottom, and then he just throws it in slide jobs. And because I have the dirty air on my nose now, I have a hard time turning under him. I can make a run to his bottom, but now I don't really have the car to pass him on the bottom, and he completes the pass. So the moral of the story is that the aero of this truck is more or less going to be the same. I think it's similar to like the Xfinity or something like that. But because that there is less grip in the or there's less downforce, you're going to feel less grip throughout the corner in certain places. But if you're able to set up your corner correctly, you have more side force, so you're able to get better runs if you are able to set up the corner despite the less downforce. So that is my recommendations for using the aero and long run and being fast. All right, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.